Vestavia Hills is one of the most talked about suburbs around Birmingham, but depending on who you ask, you'll hear completely different things about it. Some people love it for the location and the views across the mountain. Others say it's one of the most competitive housing markets in the entire metro. So if Vestavia Hills has popped up on your radar while researching places to live around Birmingham, today we're going to talk about the 7 things you may not know about living here. We'll cover the location, home prices, how the city's laid out, some of the local spots people actually spend time, and a few things that tend to surprise buyers once they start looking here. And by the end of this video, you should have a much clearer idea if Vestavia Hills might be the right fit for you. I'm Zach, your friend in real estate, and I help people relocate to places like Vestavia Hills every single week. So let's start off with the first thing that you might not know about living in Vestavia Hills. First, we're going to talk about where Vestavia Hills actually sits around the Birmingham metro, because location is one of the biggest reasons people end up here. Vestavia Hills is located just south of downtown Birmingham and sits between areas like Homewood, Hoover, and Mountain Brook. And depending on where you are in the city, downtown Birmingham is usually about 15 to 20 minute drive, which is one of the shorter commutes you'll find from any suburb in the metro. And that's a big reason why people who work around UAB, downtown offices, and the medical district tend to focus their home search here. And Highway 31 runs directly through Vestavia, and you'll also have easy access to I-65, which makes getting around the Birmingham area pretty convenient. So even though Vestavia sits up in the hills and feels somewhat removed from the city, you're actually very close to a lot of major employment centers. Now, the next thing that catches people off guard is how Vestavia Hills is actually laid out. The city sits along Shades Mountain, and the terrain really shaped how the roads and neighborhoods developed over time. So instead of one big central area, Vestavia is spread out across different ridges of the mountain. You'll often hear locals refer to Vestavia East and Vestavia West, and those two sides of the city can feel completely different depending on where you are. And that's because the roads wind through the mountain and connect different sections, so two homes are technically in the same city might still be like 15 to 20 minutes apart by car. And that's something we talk through with buyers a lot, because the specific part of Vestavia you live in can impact your commute, where you run errands, and where you spend your time around town. Alright, now let's talk about home prices in Vestavia, because this is where things can look very different compared to other Birmingham suburbs. Vestavia Hills is generally considered one of the higher priced areas in the metro, and recent housing data typically puts the median home value somewhere in that mid to $500,000 range, although that number can move depending on the market. And you can sometimes find homes starting in the mid to upper 300s, usually with smaller square footage or homes that have been completely updated over time. But it's also very common to see homes selling in the $700,000 to $1 million range. And this is especially true for larger houses or new construction. And many homes here were built between 1960s and early 2000s, which means you'll see a lot of renovations and additions compared to newer developments further outside of the city. So you're not really going to get that cookie cutter house here. Next up, we got day-to-day life, and it often centers around Highway 31. Now, once you live here, a lot of the day-to-day life tends to revolve around a few main areas around town. And one of the biggest hubs is Vestavia City Center, which has restaurants, shops, and community events throughout the year. And some of the spots that locals regularly mention include Troop's Pizza, The Ridge Eat and Drink, Hero Donuts, Ash and Max, Diplomat Deli, because Highway 31 runs right through the city, and most restaurants, grocery stores, and everyday errands are only a short drive away. So even though the city spreads out across the mountain, getting the things you need on a daily basis is usually pretty easy. Alright, another thing that people notice pretty quickly about Vestavia is how much outdoor space there actually is in the area. So since the city sits on top of Shades Mountain, you'll see a lot of wooded areas, rolling hills, and homes with views looking across the valley towards Birmingham. And some of the popular outdoor spots include Walled Park, Sybil Temple, and McCallum Park. So Walled Park in particular is one of the most active spots in the city, with sports fields, walking areas, and community events throughout the year. And if you want more hiking or biking trails, Oak Mountain State Park is like 20 minutes away, and it's one of the largest state parks in Alabama. Now, something else people talk about a lot once they move here is the overall community feel. Vestavia Hills hosts a lot of events throughout the year, including seasonal festivals, outdoor concerts, and holiday celebrations. You also see a lot of activity around parks and sports complexes over the weekend. And because many residents stay in Vestavia for a long time, it's common for neighborhoods to have their own traditions and community gatherings as well. And that sense of activity and involvement is something buyers often mention once they lived here for a while. So the big question is, who is Vestavia Hills actually the best fit for? So in my experience helping buyers relocate to Birmingham, Vestavia tends to attract people who want quick access to downtown Birmingham, required a residential setting, homes with more space between neighbors, and the location is really one of the biggest advantages. You're close to downtown, close to UAB, and still surrounded by hills and trees. But because of the demand for homes here, prices tend to run higher compared to some other suburbs. So buyers are often comparing Vestavia with places like Homewood, Hoover, and parts of Shelby County when they're deciding where they want to land. So Vestavia Hills has built a strong reputation around Birmingham, and once you spend time here, it's pretty easy to see why. The location is convenient, the scenery across the mountain is hard to beat, and there's a lot happening around the community throughout the year. But like any place, the right fit really comes down to what you're looking for in a home and lifestyle. So if you're thinking about moving anywhere around the Birmingham metro, whether that's Vestavia Hills, Hoover, Homewood, or somewhere else nearby, my team and I help people relocate here all the time. So if you have any questions or you want help figuring out which area might be the best fit for you, feel free to reach out to the number on the screen, or make sure to click that link in the description and just set up a discovery call. And if you want more videos about living in Birmingham and the surrounding suburbs, make sure you subscribe below and leave a comment and tell me an area you want me to cover next. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.